Folks, welcome to Talking Crit. I am part of your smorgasbord of hosts tonight. Eric Tenkar. With me, as always, my once a week work spouse, Bad Mike Battalato, back in his normal abode. Don't wave
No,
your
I said
finger
not
at me.
always. It wasn't last week. Not always.
You know what?
apologize.
You were traveling and ill and other assorted crap. Supporting Bad Mike on his shoulders is none other than Jim Kitchen.
Atlas.
There we go. And we are very happy to have the main man behind Fight On, Ignatious Umlaut.
Ignatius has come to visit with us.
Yes, Death Angel Mike is back home.
Tonight's show is going to be a barn burner. It's all I can do not to do the entire show as Werner Herzog.
You should have seen the pre-show, folks. You should see it. Oh, by the way, just a reminder, I'll mention it again. There's a link right underneath Ignatius. Fight on 17, Tenkar Tavern.games/Fight on 17.
Don't tell them what the link is. Let them discover the
link. I think you know what it's for.
Wait. If they are tidy, they will follow the link and they will see what they get. But we will not discuss it yet.
Discount.
It is a steep discount.
Steep discount.
Oh, nice.
Steep.
Poor Werner.
Yeah, but I gotta get the hard copy because I've got a Fight On collection.
My God, we've been so excited to do this show. Mike has been just counting down the days.
Yes, you got the collections. Those are awesome. That's the way.
Yes, I have the originals, but they're all like on my shelves in the other room, and I was like,
"That's awesome."
I'm not digging that out. I'm not a library. I'm not organized.
Really appreciate the support, guys.
Oh, just brace yourself. You got to get through the next hour or two, buddy. Just slow your roll.
I'm ready.
So
my loins are girded up.
Are they? They should be girded and strapped as well, just for your pleasure. So we have a great guest tonight. We have Ignatious Umlaut, who is here. He's the mastermind, the genius behind Fight On. And so
the first issue here.
What we should say, what we'll begin with is Ignatius. Not only is it a great stage name, but could you perhaps, for those in the audience who don't know, what is Fight On? Give us the elevator pitch.
All right. Well, Fight On is a magazine for fantasy role-playing games, and we try as hard as possible to sort of reconstruct the spirit and indeed the actual games or simulacra thereof, which were popular from the period about 1976 to 1983, right? This sort of golden age of fantasy role-playing. I mean, you could go back to 74 if you want, but that was the real early days. We love that stuff too. And in fact, we've had even a few contributors. Michael Mornard comes to mind, who were playing way back then. But what it is, we're a magazine for dungeon delvers. We're a magazine for rules innovators. We're a magazine for people who want just like classic adventures. But we also do, kind of experimental stuff. We also do things remembering the classics, Arduin, Empire of the Petal Throne. The thing I like, it's kind of hard to capture, but the thing I love about the early days, along with just the games themselves, is that kind of spirit of just do-it-yourself creativity, And what I think we go for and Fight On, as much as anything else, is like, what are you doing in your campaign? What are you making up as a DM? How do you like to play these games? What have you made for it that you want to share? So that's kind of what it's about.
It's not necessarily taking something and saying, here you go. It's much more about sort of goosing people to use their creativity to try to flesh out a campaign or an adventure using their own imagination.
Yeah. And I mean, we certainly have stuff like, in this issue, there are several adventures that you can just play right out of it with a classic rule set, which I won't name, but everybody knows what it is. And Osric will allow you to play that rule set if you're looking for a current product that supports it. But there's also some weirder stuff, and there's also stuff that's maybe pitched at, a Tunnels and Trolls or a Swords and Wizardry or a Shadow Dark or what, it's that kind of ferment. And that's actually also, back in the 70s and early 80s, everybody was kind of making their own version of the game to some degree for themselves anyway. And, even though AD&D, for reasons both of who was publishing it and quality kind of became the gold standard, there were a lot of other cool things going on too. And so, that's the milieu. And I think it's still relevant today. Like, to me, that's a big part of what makes this hobby fun, is this kind of ability to creatively improvise, have enough in common that you always know what you're doing, but room for DMs to kind of say, well, in my campaign, we do this and this. And, so it's kind of like that. I don't know. I'm not sure I like this word anymore, but like multiverse, it's like,
careful. Careful.
Yeah,
we got a rule. Number one, you can't say either the word Arduin or multiverse more than 3 times, because if you say multiverse 3 times, then it gets plainier. And if you say Arduin, the 2 guys show up and it's exhausting. So, like, you can't say it more than 3 times.
Okay, George and Dave are great with me, but I've got 1 each, so I'll use my other 2 sparingly.
That's right. That's right. So now, when did Fight On first? Before we talk about the latest issue, and we're going to talk about the latest issue, when did it start? How did it start? Like, what's your Genesis story?
Okay, well, the Genesis story, the positive part is there were a bunch of guys who had decided that they didn't want to play 3E or 4E anymore, and some guys who had never been playing 3E and 4E, and we all got together and said, let's just start making stuff for the game we love. And so that the positive part is that, right? It was the early days of print on demand. PDF publishing was like hardly even a thing at that point, and people didn't know what to charge. Some people gave PDFs away free. Others charged 10 times what they were charging for the print product, right? Because they thought, well, you could print your own if you have the PDF, which is true. But it was all kind of new. And so we thought, well, we can do a magazine in this format and get a lot of different creative people, some of whom were publishing a little on their own. Some of them were kind of industry people a little bit, but most of them were just like hobbyists, like passionate hobbyists who like made stuff and wanted to share it. And this gave us a chance to do that together. A lot of us met on familiar, you guys all know, back then it was all about discussion boards. Now it's podcasts and Discord and stuff. But back then, a lot of the way we all talked to each other was on discussion boards. And so, a lot of us met, at the original OD&D discussion boards that Marv Bragg started was one place, but also Knights and Knaves, Dragon's Foot, also the Necromancer Games message boards, because, in the early days of 3E, those guys were really trying to kind of like, hey, their slogan, like first edition, feel third edition rules or whatever. They were
right.
So a lot of us were like, okay, we're going to give the new rules a try, but we want to play D&D. We don't want to play that. A lot of us kind of congregated at those Necromancer Games boards. And so we made connections. And then, 2007, 2008 rolls along. It's clear that 3.5, 4.0 Wizards, Hasbro is not going. They're not interested in producing a game that's like the game that I like. I mean, other people like it, great for them, but we want to play the games we want to play. And so Fight On is definitely to support that community. That's kind of how it started, I guess. Hobbyist energy.
Let's peel back the let's go through the time tunnel here. And without the little swirly thing that they had to jump through. So here we are in 2008, I believe, Ignatius.
That was when the first issue came out. Yeah.
So, Doug and I we wanted to start an old school convention. Looked around. There were none. There were zero. There was not. There was not an old school convention in the United States. There were some conventions that had old school tracks, but they were like, I think one convention had Frank Mincer running 2 games. I mean, there was nothing old school. Everything was free. And there was it's so cool because Fight On was kind of this part of this huge explosion that just kind of happened about 2007, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
Where all these things just started. All these things every time you turn around, there was something cool that was supporting this thing that was the OSR, even though we really didn't call it the OSR back then. We called it clones. It was, look, all these clones, all these clones popping up.
Right.
But it was just amazing to, people were online talking about this thing, Fight On, and to get the first couple of issues and to look through there and go, whoa, this is what I want to play. This is going back, but this is what I want to do. And so it was really amazing. It just everything, this whole burst of creativity that came about among the old schoolers in that little 2 or 3 year period, and Fight On being part of it. I mean, I think that Fight On honestly is one of the most important publications of the OSR because it just had everything. There was dungeons, there was monsters, there was rules, there was interviews. I mean, everything that you always wanted to see as an old schooler that had been totally ignored by all the major companies for 7 years, 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
Nothing at all. There was just all it was 3E, and then a cloud of dust. There was nothing else out there. So it was an amazing time. It was really cool. And so, why did you think this would succeed? Besides the fact there was nothing like it at the time, what made you think this is something that people are really going to be interested in, and I'm going to be able to sell X amount of copies, and actually, make some money off of this?
Well, okay, so a couple points there. I mean, I didn't know it was going to succeed. I didn't know it was going to be as popular as it wound up being. I mean, to some degree, it was just a lot of guys like, let's do this and see what happens. I mean, that being said, you're right. There was a big energy in that period. And it was starting even as early, I think, as 04, 05, although it really 6, 7, 8 is when it really kind of became the OSR. A little brief footnote. For a long time, I actually thought I was the person who came up with the term old school Renaissance. And I may have been the one who used Renaissance rather than revival first. But some guys did a deep dive on the Wayback Machine. And the earliest reference to OSR they could find was actually Trent Foster. I'm sure you know who that is. In 2004, I think, maybe on Knights and Knaves used that phrase to describe something. So, but I was right there in the beginning cloud of people who were discussing this. But I think that there was a lot of love, some of it from older guys who were still around. Which is, I guess, the group I kind of fall into. I'm in a little bit of an unusual position. I started in 77 with Holmes, but I was a kid. I played with my dad. And so I guess I'm probably one of the youngest people of that sort of second generation of D&D players. But nonetheless, I mean, that's where I start. I start during that period. The player's handbook wasn't out when I started playing. We went from Holmes to the OCE because we didn't have the advanced rules yet. But there were also younger guys who were really interested in it. Some of them were guys who had grown up kind of with late 2E or 3E. And I noticed somebody, I think it was, Dwayne in the comments there. He's a good artist, by the way. He's got some pictures in the last couple issues of Fight On. But Dwayne said it never quite felt right to him. And there were a lot of these young guys who loved the idea of fantasy role playing. They loved kind of some of the stuff that happened, but they were not really too thrilled. And I think those guys, as much as the older guys, have really been the lifeblood of Fight On, because it's not just, us doing our thing. I can see at least a couple of you guys are in my generation. I think you are too, Jim, but you're strangely young.
I mean, the important thing is that it crossed out of what I like to call the older venerated hobbyists, right? That's the important part of this is that you created something that resonated not just with old beardy guys, but also the second generation and even I'll say the third generation. That you created something that crossed over because you were putting out something that, particularly when you look back at that, I can't remember, Mike, when did Dragon quit publishing? when did they go out of print?
Yeah.
Like 2008, 2000, somewhere 9.
They went digital when 4E came out, and then they killed it.
Right.
shortly
And
thereafter.
if you look at the last 5 years of Dragon, it's
Uh-huh.
as stale as 6-day-old bread in the back of the bakery, right? This is it's just literally the
Yeah.
same thing over and over and over again. And I think that's another important part.
Mhm.
You're doing something that is against that tide. And I think that's an important part of why you were successful as well.
Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, some of it came out of my own experience as a GM because, when 3E came out, I was excited. Like 2E had been in a real doldrums for a long time, and I was a 1E guy anyway, right? So, and I do think John Tweet said something kind of funny about 3E. I remember he said that Wizards had paid him and Monty Cook to write the ultimate 80s RPG in 2001. But by 80s RPG, they mean the kind of thing that the kids would call a trad game, 2E White Wolf kind of thing. I actually have a lot of respect for the ideas in the original design of 3E, but the mechanics took it to where it went. I mean, Pathfinder is the logical evolution of that system, in my opinion. And it's okay, but it's not the game that I play. It's way too much focus on number crunching. It's too much. And the thing that I was experiencing as a third edition GM, which I was for a while, is, I like to make up monsters. I like to make up adventures. I like to make up magic items. And once you got to reasonably high levels, that was like your whole day to make up. It was like Champions. If you guys ever played Champions, but the difference is in Champions, when you make a supervillain, it takes you all day, but he's a recurring character. In third edition D&D, it takes you all day. The players kill him, and then you're like, "What do I just spent a whole day making one monster, and now I've got to." So it really kind of encourages you to use canned stuff. And if you're okay with that, there is a lot of good canned stuff for lots of systems, but I like making things up, and there's nothing like old D&D to sort of enable people to make their own stuff up. And of course, yeah, some of it sucks, sure, but some of it's awesome, and all of it's like yours. It's like the stuff that you made up.
For every flump, there's a boulet.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really like,
nothing against flumps, by the way. I don't want to be pitching.
No, I hate them. It's okay. So, I mean, I don't hate them as much as I hate bards, but I mean, really,
yeah,
valid back there. So when you have this, if you look at the early issues of Fight On, it's filled with that. And Eric and I talk about this a lot about the blogs, how important the blogs were back in that day. Eric had a blog, and then of course you had James Malazewski and Jeff Ryan. I mean, all these guys had blogs, and every morning you fire up your computer, you go to your blog coalition site, and you read all your blogs. And so the early issues are filled with these names, these guys that did blogs, Chicago Wiz, all these guys. Did you just like end up, how did you do this? Did you like email these guys and say, hey, I'm going to start this fanzine. Can you contribute something? I mean, did you call them up? Did you talk? I mean, how did you get this rolling?
Well, I think I was a big participant in a lot of those old bulletin board discussions, and certainly at the old school boards, but I was also even involved at rpg.net and the Forge and a lot of these kinds of places for various different reasons. So I think I knew a lot of people, and I also think I had a certain kind of maybe respect because I was knowledgeable old schooler, but I wasn't like a professional. So I would just tell people what I thought, and actually sometimes I wish I did a little more of that now sometimes, but I think, so a lot of people just kind of knew me and I knew them, but yeah, I mean, Jeff Reince mentioned at the time, he was a pretty good online friend. We're still in contact. We actually played DCC briefly together a couple of years ago, but I haven't seen him as much lately. But anyway, so I knew him, and I knew Gabor, and I knew some other people who were kind of out there. And we're just people who talked on the internet, but it was kind of. And then James, I had enjoyed. I think he's a wonderful historian of RPGs, and he was kind of there. We got to talking. He was interested, and so I was like, "Great, come on in," But so I think it was one of those rare cases where all the time I wasted talking to people online when I should have been. I don't know, trying to advance myself professionally or whatever.
Oh, come on now.
Who needs that?
That's not important. No, this is important. This is history. This is game
right.
history. Who cares about that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I'm looking at this random. Here's issue 3. I mean, the table. Here's some of the contributors. You got Jeff Reitz, Rob Conley. Boy, we know Rob.
Yep, great guy. Rob will be at WizardCon too, by the way.
James Mishler, Tim Shorts, David Bowman, Bill Webb, Bob Bledsoe. Oops,
careful.
Bill Owen. I mean, Gabor Lux, Victor Raymond. I mean, it's just and it's like every these are all the guys. James Malzewski.
My God, it's a who's who of North Texas.
Oh
attending.
my God, yeah, it's our first special guest list. No, but it was just so cool because if you read these and like I said, Eric and I talked about this many times before. If you were really into this blog sphere that was going on, everybody was just sharing ideas, and you pull it up every day, and some guy would have a list of new magic items. Another guy would have here's a country I thought of. Here's a monster. Yeah. And this kind of like everybody said, okay, we're going to take the best of all those blogs and we're going to shove it into this, this. Yeah. By the way, which got bigger and bigger every issue.
I know. We're going to print the internet, kids. We're going to print
2 and 3.
Well, that issue 3 is the biggest one we'd ever done until the current one. The current one that's now
150
now
pages,
broken the record. This is the biggest issue we've ever done. But number 3 was the second biggest.
But it was just so cool because these were all the guys that you looked at you read their blogs, and then all of a sudden there's an article about something in there. And so it was like it was catnip. I mean, you're sitting there going, this is like having the blogs in my hand. I can just look through there and read. There's dungeons in here. There's there's NPCs. It's everything you need. So every issue that come in, I can't think of an issue that I didn't use something from in my own game. Because I'd pull a dungeon out, I'd pull a room out, I'd pull a monster out. Just some of the articles were just really amazing. And at the time, I was thinking about is this guy paying these guys? Are they just giving him stuff for free? I mean, how does this work? I mean, how did this work out? I mean, do you just like say, okay, well, here's all I can pay you because I'm this, I'm just starting out. I can throw you a couple bucks, but I assume that these guys got Ed Greenwood rates. Going in here or anything.
Ed Greenwood doesn't even get Ed Greenwood rates anymore.
He doesn't. You're right. You're absolutely right. He doesn't get it.
So I mean that goes back to something else you guys were saying that I should clarify. Our model is a fanzine model. I get about $1 an issue off the print issues, sometimes a little more, occasionally a little less, but I try to pitch it at the price point there, and I basically seed that money back into the magazine. There have been times when it's been successful enough that it's also paid for my cons and stuff, but if you want to see my tax forms, you'll see that I'm not making any money off this thing, and it wasn't designed for that. I mean, I do sometimes have ambitions of sort of leveraging the platform to maybe publish more of my own stuff, but I haven't had time for it. So, I mean, part of the deal is that it's not really a money generating operation. It's not designed as one. I sometimes wonder if in the current situation, we should try to change that. But one of the reasons it's been, $7, $8, $9, $10 an issue is that we're not trying.
The pressures of a for-profit model are very different from the pressures of a almost profit model. And that's not a stab at an almost profit, right? Because clearly what Fight On is a labor of love.
Yeah.
And that labor of love, like all great things that start that way, It has humble beginnings. It percolates. It simmers on the stove until it sort of reaches a critical mass,
Yeah.
and it becomes what it becomes. And this is a tradition that goes back in fandom and science fiction and so on and fantasy for almost 100 years, right? When you look at Weird Tales, when you look at some of this other stuff, that's exactly the roots of all this. So
Absolutely.
Unsurprised, completely unsurprised.
Yeah. And also as a result of that, every so often, issue 8, which was, Nerd Nirvana, out of the blue. Well, we had asked, we had an art contest. I knew somebody who knew Errol Otis. So I said, hey, would you be a judge, and like, we'll dedicate the contest to you. And Errol was great. He's a great guy. He did that. He actually gave us feedback on how to run the contest. And after the contest, just kind of out of the blue, he said, by the way, here's a cover. And so the issue 8 cover was by Errol Otis. If we were paying like a for-profit, we might have an Errol Otis cover, but you'd be like, hey, Errol, do you have time to paint? How much do you want?
Right.
And so the labor of love model, which is our model, has some benefits. I guess a more recent example, somebody who's, maybe not as well known as Errol, but he's kind of becoming a star now, in my opinion. Peter Mullen did this beautiful, beautiful cover for us. And it was the same thing. He's like, hey, you want this? I was like, Wayne's World, it's like, we're not worthy. Yeah, right? But yeah, so that kind of thing.
I do have 8. Sorry, I said I don't
yeah,
have
there
8.
it is.
I have 8. I've got 8. I've got them all.
And my old high school friend and DM, Pat Farley, who does art for the magazine sometimes too. I remember when he got issue 8, he looked at the cover and he said, wow, that guy does a really good Errol Otis imitation.
He does a great imitation. It's just, it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
You should never let him live that down, ever.
Well, he figured it out before I told him. He's like, he saw the signature, but it was it was kind of a great moment. He was like,
I would be giving my friend shit at a level that is incomprehensible, right? That would be that's just divine. And I probably own about a dozen, maybe somewhere between 10 and 20 Peter Mullen pieces. And all of them are just made with that same meticulous crafting and that same dedication to detail that, there's one actually just over that side of my desk that's just spectacular. I love it.
Yeah.
And gosh, he's just got that eye for detail and spectacular, really spectacular.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. I agree. And a great guy.
Yes.
There's honestly, you wouldn't know it sometimes from the internet drama, but my experience is that a lot of gamers, creators are pretty nice people. And sometimes maybe this is one of the things that helps me run Fight On. I often get along with people maybe on different parts of the world. But again, we all get mad about certain things at certain times, but I've experienced a lot of generosity the whole time I've been doing this from people from a lot of different parts of the RPG world. And I'm really grateful for that.
I could speak to all the people that we would want to probably talk to, Peter Mullen. That's a Stefan Poag that I put over my shoulder for tonight.
Oh yeah. He's in some of the early issues too. He's great.
Yeah. He's phenomenal, but all of these guys are bend over backwards. I've had all of them make major contributions to charity auctions, fundraisers, etc.
Yeah.
And really and truly the community is just remarkably grounded and well-centered in that regard.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Well, just run a con and you can see what SOBs these guys are in real life. It's a guy like Alan Hammock. He's like a little dictator. This guy's just awful. And don't get me into
Talanian's popping off in the comments, and Ignatius, I just want to make sure that you understand. You may not have been around him lately, but he's actually condensed. He's actually more intense Talanian than he was like 2 or 3.
Really?
Little wired.
Yeah, he's vibrating all the time. It's just this hyperborea sort of hoarfrost around him. It's spectacular.
He's another one, by the way. There's Tolanian articles in one or two of the early issues too. He got onto his own publishing thing, which is awesome. I love the Hyperborea stuff, but he had a couple. His Chaos Monks of Cthulhu, I think, are in issue 4. So there's some good stuff from him too.
So now let's talk about the new issue. Let's talk about 17. It's the biggest issue to ever be spawned.
Yes.
Tell us about 17.
Okay. I'm going to preface that a little bit. There was a big gap. We weren't publishing for a long time. We resumed with issue 15. So 15, 16, 17 are the new issues. And there are some things I could say about all of those, but since you asked me for a product pitch, I'll do that first, and then we can kind of talk about maybe new versus old a little later on. So this issue is packed with stuff. There's 5 adventures in it. We've got monsters, we've got spells, we've got magic items, including, I'm going to toot my own horn here a little bit. Well, kind of. This is complicated. I write under often a different name than I edit under. But anyway, for those of you who know that these two people are identical, I have a magic item in there that I'm really proud of. So it's kind of like every issue. There's tables, got a few cartoons and so forth. Actually, there's 6 adventures in here. Well, there's 5 adventures in a kind of mini setting. But anyway, yeah. So
that's what makes right there. Any issue of Fight On you pick up the old ones. That's what makes it worth the money, right there. There's ready to run shit in all these. You pull it, you open it up, and it's old school. It's all old school stuff. It's not.
Yeah.
There's no experimental, mental.
Maybe a little, but
primarily, it's good old stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little experimental stuff here and there, but one thing I try to really focus on, even with the stuff that maybe isn't quite in the wheelhouse, which you're right, most of it is, I always want to have gameable stuff. And so even, for example, in issue 2, there's some nice kind of OD&D random monster tables by, Vincent Baker, who's a big, mostly story game designer, good in his field. But you notice I don't solicit opinion pieces very often, even from regular old schoolers. I'm like, make a thing, right? Make a thing that we can play with. I guess the catchphrase would be gameable content, but I hate all that content language or whatever. But yeah, so people who contribute stuff you can use. You're right, Bad Mike. That's what I try to get, and that's what's in here. Stuff you can use.
But there's a focus to the issue that you've mentioned to us about David Sutherland. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so every issue so far, I wonder if we're going to continue this forever. I don't know. But every issue 1 through 17 has been dedicated to some legend of the gaming hobby. Many of those are, Gygax, Arneson, and more recently, the last 2 issues have been dedicated to Trampier and Sutherland. And we had an art contest, actually, while we were working on the Trampier issue that was dedicated to Trampier and Sutherland. Errol Otis actually came back and helped judge that art contest, too. So he's been a judge for 2 art contests for us now. But so, the dedication issues vary. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff that relates to the dedication. For example, issue 13 was dedicated to Ken St. Andre. So there was much more Tunnels and Trolls stuff than usual. Sure. We got Liz Danforth did a cover for us, which was awesome. She's a special artist from those early days. There was something by Steve Crompton. He did some art for us. Other issues, it's a mention and maybe a couple things. Kind because it kind of just depends on what people contribute. You know, I kind of run that up the flagpole. Hey, this is going to be dedicated to so and so. So in this issue, there's a short article Michael Mornard wrote about his connections with Dave Sutherland. We've got a couple of dungeons, smaller dungeons that could easily be plugged into a certain module that he contributed to for a game that you know, we all know. It's the Demon Web. Anyway,
Nobody who's possibly going to sue you watches this show.
You're
You
safe.
can really drop the
well, you know,
ball.
part of the spirit of the old days is being terrified that TSR is going to sue.
Listen, we got
They
enough lots of
sue
conspiracy
regularly,
theories
yes.
out there. This is not that channel. This is
Right.
not that channel. We you know, the belief that the WotC assassins are Legion, like they're the Hand from the old Marvel comics, the Daredevil, like no. Stick and stone are not showing up at your house to defend you against the WotC assassins. It isn't going to happen. The old mask, none of that, right?
All right, well, that's good. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. So yeah, there's stuff that you could stick into the Demon Web pits. And there's a couple other things. Also, the artwork at the end won the Sutherland Prize in the contest. There's a bunch of other artworks from the contest. The average quality, I mean, first of all, the Mullen cover, you know, is up there with the Otis cover, and one or two of the Mark Allen covers is probably the best we've ever had. I mean, it's amazing. This is a great. I saw people talking about this cover. I don't even know if they read the magazine or not. They were just talking about how much they liked the cover. But the average quality of art in this issue is very high. There's been, you know, good art in every issue we've done, but I'm really proud of how pretty, I guess, for lack of a better word, this issue is in terms of the interior artwork and stuff like that.
That's great. No, that's huge. That's
yeah.
If you don't have pride in your product, why are you putting out the product, right?
Yeah.
I never understand those people. I can't understand those people.
Yeah, for sure.
And so how long does it take you to put together an issue? I'm sort of curious, like, is it a 6-month process, a 4-month process, a year-long process? What's your lead time?
For the first 2 years, I managed to get out a quarterly issue. You know, that was when I was young enough that I could still finish dinner, you know, have a snifter of brandy and 3 shots of espresso and work until 3 or 4 in the morning and then get up for work the next day. I am no longer, my constitution is maybe 14 now. It's not 18 anymore. And I can't quite do that. So it's taking me a little longer. And also, you know, in some cases it's a little bit variable because, you know, if you look through our credits, you'll see that there are, you know, a lot of good artists, but a half dozen artists who, you know, get paid to work for other companies. And so a lot of those guys say, hey, I'll do one for you, but it's on my schedule because I got to get, you know, well, Talanian needs 20 pieces from me and he's going to burn down my house. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
But, you know, this kind of thing, they've got people that they're working for. So sometimes I'll wait for that. Other times I'll realize I forgot something. So coordinating the articles and the art, I think, is often what winds up taking the most time. Occasionally I'll wait for an article because somebody said, hey, I'm going to get you this, and I know it's going to be really good. My hope is I want to get this back up to at least twice a year. We did have 2 issues in 2025, but February and December, that's more like 10 months. So I want to get that down to 6, but we'll see how I do. I want to put out a good issue, especially right now, you know, like, I don't know if you guys ever read, you know, Bryce over at 10 Foot Pole, you know, he does all those reviews.
Mm-hmm.
He reviews a lot of dogs.
Oh boy.
Wow.
I mean, he does. I mean, he says it. It's not me. But, you know, he gives us the verdict on these issues.
I can't believe that there's low production value product in role-playing games.
Yeah, but also there's a lot right now, right? I mean, we're Fight On came out at the beginning of the print on demand age. We are now in the print on deluge age, and So I'd rather have a good issue coming out slower than rush it out. But that said, I do kind of want it to be a magazine. So, I'd like to get it up to at least twice a year and maybe even more. We'll see. I don't know, I'm doing what I could do, but yeah, so that's kind of the goal.
Well, and I again, so Mike will remember this. There was a one issue comic book series. It managed to make one issue, which was a combination, the combination forged in hell by the souls of the damned. It was Phil Foglio and Freff, and they created a comic book called Dark Tangent.
Dark Tangent. I just saw it the other day. I was just looking through my collection, Jim.
And so it's an amazing comic book. But Phil Foglio did a comic for the back pages of Dark Tangent that showed Freff painting the Sistine Chapel. And Foglio's like, come on, we got to get the issue out. And he's like, you can't rush perfection. He's like, no. Like, we got to publish something and we can make money. And Freff is like, you can't rush art, and so on and so forth. And so the happy median is somewhere in between, right? That your production standards are high, but you still ship something.
Yes, that's right.
And I hear exactly what you're saying, which is the bake was longer than you wanted with this issue.
Yeah.
But this issue's a home run, and it's the largest issue you've ever done.
Yeah.
So forgive me for the length of time, but as opposed to other vaporware and Kickstarters and other backer kits, it actually showed up. And that's where you do your victory lap, because you have something to show for your efforts, and they have gone off to Bermuda and we can't find them.
Well, and that's also another advantage of the sort of nonprofit or semi-nonprofit, at least, model, is that I'm focused on delivery, right? It's not like I raised a bunch of money for people, or I've got to pay the trucks to take the stacks of Fight On out to now bankrupt Diamond. Anyway,
got dark quick.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to bring it down, but I mean, it's like I'm kind of trying to shepherd all this cool stuff that people are writing and doing into one cover and then get it out the door. But like the energy in a way is like positive. It's like we're doing this and trying to get it out. It's not like we raised all this money, we've got all these commitments, we got, I mean, I would, if I could find a way to do it, it would be nice to get people paid. Maybe if it gets big enough, I'll think about. But I also want it to be cheap, and I also want it to be kind of like that free form, kind of like we're just doing this thing. So I guess I'm still thinking about how to work all that out. But anyway,
I think I'll throw this out, right? The thing that occurs to me is don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah.
Right? And truthfully, it is successful. It has carved out its spot. There's nothing wrong, and I say this because a lot of people just don't understand this. There's nothing wrong with increasing the price of Fight On incrementally. That's not me saying you need to double it. That's not me saying you need to raise it by half. Like that's not my point. But you can give yourself a small raise on the price of it, simply because you can then turn around and use that money to pay artists, to compensate writers, to do a little more for them, so that when you want somebody to do a piece of art or an interior illustration or a cover or whatnot, they can say, you know what, like he really did treat me fair. Like, make me sure I get on the schedule. Let me get it on the schedule here. And I think that's important. I do. I think that's important. I'm a big believer in keeping creatives. Yeah. Creatives shouldn't starve, right? Nobody wants to starve. But it's very hard, because this is an industry that for whatever reason, there's a very vocal contingent that wants to race to the bottom as far as pricing. But the problem is that then my illustrations look like stick figures, and I had to have it mimeographed at Kinko because I couldn't afford copying. And that's what we want to avoid, right? And when you hold that issue in your hand, when you look at 17, I was going through 17 the other day and scrolling through it and so on. And what I was struck by is, yes, there's that real, I printed a portion of the internet and I'm holding it in my hand. There still is that quality,
Yeah.
but I was reading the PDF and it just flowed. It absolutely just flowed across my screen,
Thank
and I
you.
liked that. I liked that a
Yeah.
lot, and I think you don't get enough credit for that. I think there's a lot of materials that I have on PDF that came from, and I don't mean this in a mean way, larger publishers. You know, publishers with 30 or 40 employees, and
Yeah.
they can't manage something that flowed across my screen as well as the new issue of Fight On. And
That's
I think
wonderful.
we should do a victory lap over that.
Yeah,
That's
the quality is what set that apart from a lot of the. I mean, we're all here huge fanzine guys, and we love really old school publications. But the great thing about Fight On is when you get you ordered it from Lulu, it came in the mail. It looked like a professional publication, which it was.
Well, thank you.
It was really nice.
Thank you.
But it still had those old school vibes you get from the old fanzines.
Yeah.
Well, this guy's doing a rules system. This guy has 20 types of fireballs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It still had that sensibility, but it looked great for the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
I'm looking at these now and look, I've had these, whatever, almost 20 years now. And I read tons of, they're in great shape. I mean, a lot of that's Lulu, quality Lulu, but just the fact is it looks good. It's readable by old people. That's one of my
reviews. I mean, I'm sort of happy that you switched over to Fireball and Red Bull, and it's awesome because it's clearly hitting the spots, right? Look at the new issue. I mean, Constitution 14, but you're still managing to knock it out of the park.
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, guys. Layout, it's kind of funny. My layout background was that I did a gaming magazine in high school briefly. It ran for 3 issues. It was called the Relay Text. And there's a 1 or 2 sentence review of it in an issue of Different Worlds from back in the 80s or something like that.
Wow.
We took it to DunderCon one year and sold like 17 copies.
Hey.
All of which were run off on my dad's dot matrix printer, and then I stapled the cover to the front of it.
Who reviewed you? That's the question. Who reviewed you? Was it Tim Kask?
Well, not for Different Worlds. It would have been one of the Chaosium. It would have been one of the Chaosium guys for them. But that was, and so I loved doing that, even though it was just kind of this brief thing in high school. And so then when all the guys were online, we were talking about we should have a magazine. I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll sign up for the job to put
I've
it
got
together.
the barn, Timmy. Let's put on a show. This is great.
Right.
That's excellent. I come on, but this is how giant swaths of this industry started.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And really and truly, there's no more honest bona fides than I printed it off on my dot matrix printer and then I stapled it together. That's the kind of stuff that I love to hear. Right?
Somebody reminded me the other day we were talking in one of the collector groups about the first releases of Carcosa by and I had forgotten. I ordered some early, and I'd forgotten that Jeffrey put those together at his desk, printed them out, folded them, and stapled them himself. And nothing says old school like actually assembling it. At your order. Oh, I had 3. I ordered 3. I need to put together 3. You print it out, slap them together, staple it, and boom, there you go.
Handmade gaming products.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Plus 5 paper cuts of Doom, right? Yes, all of that.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's cool too when you do your own fulfillment like that. So I can say more about the stuff in the issue. I'll tell you, since the beginning, I've had kind of 3 models. One people were mentioning in the comments was just the old, Tim Kask through Jaquay and early Kim Mohan, Dragon Magazine up to about issue 80, which, again, came in the mail to my house when I was a little kid. I think the first one I got in the mail was the Witch issue 43. And But I had the older ones, got at the hobby store and stuff, some of them. And the older kids at the library in my first gaming club were playing Halls of Beoldur. But anyway, so that's one model, right? Because the early Dragon, I mean, you guys talked about how kind of sad it got toward the end, but the early Dragon is just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that was because, I mean, I've had the pleasure. We had an issue dedicated to Tim, and I've had the pleasure to talk to him. We did actually a long interview with him in issue 16. He told Gary he didn't want this to be a house organ, and they had stuff for Traveler. They had stuff for other TSR games, but also non-TSR games. He was just trying to make it about the hobby, and Fight On is not about the whole hobby because the hobby's huge now and it's in a million different places. But I am trying to kind of make it about the successor of the whole hobby as it was in 1981 or whatever. That's kind of what and Dragon was a big part of that. A second inspiration on the amateur side, Lee Gold's Alrams and Excursions finally ended, but that was a place where a lot of major RPG people got their start. And a third one, okay, this is my second. I only get one more, Jim. The Arduin Grimoires.
They're going to appear at any moment.
I won't say it again. I know that's too.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let him knock down the door anyway. That's fine.
But I know some people who played with Dave, and he had a kind of system in his head. But everybody who bought those books, I think almost everybody used them as D&D supplements. That's what they felt like, right? But as D&D supplements, like, they're really cool, and again, like, look at a Fight On, right? There's some new classes, new races, new magic items, new monsters, like some weird setting stuff or history that you don't know exactly how it fits in, but it's kind of cool, hopefully. So those three kind of old school sources, three different kinds of like grab bag, right? That's kind of the three things that I keep in my mind when I'm putting an issue together. Not necessarily what's written in them, because that's already been done, but that kind of gestalt of like all this cool stuff for our games in one kind of cover, one place. Then you're not going to use all of it. Some of it's better than other stuff, but it's all kind of this creative ferment that you can kind of take into your games and do stuff with.
Well, and I think, again, the great thing about Arduin and the early Arduin products and so on, but really the heart of what you're talking about is we have watched imagination atrophy over the last 20 years. And that's a real problem, right? People want to be spoon-fed campaigns. They want to be spoon-fed one-offs and so on and so forth. And finding somebody who's going to be like, I mean, that's one of the great things about Matt and Susie's book. Like, just go random. Like, just start rolling dice and see what you come up with, and then have the stones to reach down, grab a hold of yourself, and go forward and wing it. And I think we don't see enough of that. I think we see a lot of we see a lot of cowardice, when in fact the only way you're going to get better is if you really test yourself and you really push yourself and you get out of your comfort zone. And the comfort zone is ignore all the published stuff and come up with something spectacular.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I do think, there's a lot of great people who do professional work in this industry, but I do think there is a little bit of a perverse incentive for gaming companies to make stuff that you need to use to play their game, right? Which was not the case as much in the early days, partly because I think we didn't really know what we were doing always from a business point of view, and also the model of the game, right? You give people the game and they play it. And then in the case of role-playing games, you also like make it your own, do your own thing with it. But then, in a way, from a company's point of view, it's better if you can get them on a treadmill of buying 12
Well,
Dragonlance.
and to be fair, we are a hobby of obsessive collectors.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
and really and truly, like if you tell me it's A1 and there's going to be 3 more modules, I'm going to have to own all 4.
I know.
And
It's funny, as I've gotten older, I've gotten much better about impulse buying, but that's my one weakness. If I get one cool thing, then all of a sudden I got to buy all 10 things that go with it instantly.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Anything.
You have a question, Ignatius.
Yes.
Are you drowning in material, or do you constantly have to beg for it?
Neither. I'm in kind of a good position. I get a certain number of things, over the transom, as they used to say. And I also have certain people who, not every issue, but very often just send me something. You'll recognize the names, people who are in a lot of issues. They're just kind of like in the habit of doing something for Fight On. But I do also reach out to people for different kinds of reasons. Maybe there's a game I want to talk about a little bit, and I know person X writes for that game, but they've also got the right kind of sensibility. So I'll reach out to that person. Sometimes it'll be just somebody I know and respect I haven't heard from for a while. There's definitely room for submissions. If any of you on the show are thinking, hey, I'd like to get a piece in Fight On, it's very possible. And we do work with authors. There are some people whose stuff, some of them do publish it professionally as well as in the magazine, but some of them just send me like finished, beautiful copy. But there are a lot of, authors. I'll work with people sometimes to help them get their article to the point where it's publishable. I do that when I see a really cool idea. There are some people who have great ideas but aren't great writers, or maybe they're just learning to be better writers. And so there have been some people where I've sort of said, hey, you know what, this has a great idea, but it's too wordy, or it's too long, or it's too short. But let's get it to a shape where we can kind of, make it something fun that people are going to want to read. So I do some of that.
I have an interesting question for you, because that brings to mind. Have you ever had somebody that submitted something great, but it just was not going to fit Fight On? Like,
yes.
It was a little too dark, or, hey, we don't do Lamentations. We're good. You should try that other guy.
Raggy submitted some stuff early on. I remember seeing
we do. Yeah, we do. I mean, yeah, Raggy did submit some nice stuff to the thing. Now, it wasn't necessarily the super X-rated stuff. We have had a couple things that push the boundaries here and there a little bit. I think that happens with D&D, but the saddest case, actually, there was a guy from California who barely knew how to use the computer. This was in the old days, and he sent me a beautiful, like 100-page. It was like his home brewed kind of Gamma World setting, and it was really cool. And I was like, this is too big for the magazine, but maybe we could do it as a standalone product. And I just couldn't find the time, and it was a new business model. And so finally I mailed it back to the guy with apologies, but also regrets, because I was thinking, if I had more time or more people or more something, I'd love to bring stuff like that to light. I can almost even imagine like Fight On Adventures, where we find all the great stuff that people wrote and left in their binders since '84 or whatever.
And it's funny that you say that, because we have seen at auction, at Gen Con and a couple of other places here and there, we have seen the giant 3-inch binder that somebody plops down because somebody died, and it wound up at their game store, and they brought it, and it's somebody's meticulous hand-typed settings / rules variations and on, and it's the first time it's been seen outside of their house ever, and there's just little gold mines of this here and there that you'd love to get scanned in somewhere in a repository on the internet, just to let it live on and have some legs past being thrown into a dumpster and just
I agree. There's so much great stuff, and again, I mean, I remember, in middle school, we were all playing by then, because it was a craze like it is now in a slightly different way. But, and I remember there were lots of kids who didn't even necessarily play D&D, but they'd sit there drawing maps of fantasy worlds in their binder, and like other kids would write stories, and then there'd be like stories, and you play the character, and then you go, and I just love that creative ferment of people like making stuff together with kind of this awesome game at the heart of it.
Well, I mean, that was kind of like the whole aesthetic when you first started out. Is that all your friends, everybody had a dungeon, and you'd go and guy A's dungeon on Monday, then Wednesday during your free period at school, you go through the other guy's dungeon, then after school on Saturday. I mean, that was always the thing. Everybody was rotating the dungeons, and everybody always had a different dungeon.
Yeah,
it's real weird how it's codified itself the last few decades, where it's so much more structured now how we run. I'm guilty of the same thing. I mean, I have a very structured campaign now. My players, they contribute to it, but it's within the framework of here's the campaign world. Here's what we're doing. It was just so free form in those days. It
was.
Everything went, and we talk about that a lot. How just everything would go. I mean, you had aliens, you had werebears, you had demons. I mean, your party adventures would look like backstage at Laugh-In. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
And also, it's not always the best from your continuity point of view, but also just like taking your character from campaign to campaign. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there were these arguments around 1980 about whether to have an open world or a closed world. And, the closed world has various advantages, but the open world in some ways was the default because it was a game.
Right.
Like I go play with this guy at the library, and then I go play with my friends at home, and then I go play with these other guys. I bring
my character everywhere. Yeah. I got the frost hand legitimately. Don't worry about it. Don't ask.
So many mechanisms, so many parts.
As a result, like one week you're in a pretty close Lord of the Rings sim, and the next week you're flying on a spaceship, and then the next week you're like in a sort of funhouse dungeon, right? That's sort of like, okay, that's just how it is, right? I'm sort of exploring all these different weird creative dimensions and so forth. And
you could be campaign curious and nobody questioned you.
Exactly. Well, it was the 70s,
That's right. There's a lot of we played in sunken lounges. Everything was orange. It was a lot of shag carpeting and dice. Don't even
that's right. Leisure suits, ferns.
So much fondue. I can't even tell you how much.
Well, the funny thing was you mentioned that. It's so funny because we kind of did that open campaign thing, and I bet every DM back in 1980 whatever had this rule. It's the first player that walks in with Black Razor. It's a no.
Oh God!
Always there was a character that had Black Razor, and he legitimately got it from White Plume Mountain. And you're like, no, Black Razor does. Yeah. Everything else is good. It does not exist on my world.
Yeah,
get that shit out of here. We're not doing Black Razor here. So everybody would try to sneak in. There'd be always that guy that tries to sneak in Black Razor. I got this. I played this TSR dungeon. It's okay to bring stuff from TSR dungeons. You do exactly what he's talking about. Like, no, you cannot bring in Black Razor. He's like, how'd you know? I just knew.
Yeah, especially your paladin. My paladin has Black Razor.
My paladin's got a He's got two of them. He's got
I'm dual wielding.
Yeah, actually, I did have a friend who had a high level paladin character who had like Stormbringer in one hand and Morn Blade.
All right.
Of course he did.
Now we're getting into the Monty Hall end of things. Michael Fraker looks like mentioned the Flail Snails conventions, which was a kind of attempt.
Oh yeah,
wow, yeah, that's an oldie. Yeah,
that's a deep.
Yeah, cut. I mean, it didn't. It's actually interesting because he mentions Zach, but it was kind of Zach and Jeff Rance and myself actually all kind of like laid this out a little bit. And I think, I don't know. I'm kind of glad that my life took a turn where I had to drop out for a while because that whole Google Plus gaming world got pretty weird after a point, and a lot of people got in fights with each other. And in some ways, I'm really grateful I missed it because it makes it easier for me to just sort of pick up with Fight On because I wasn't there to
Google Plus was a very interesting period, and
There was good. There was good and bad though.
it was very,
Yeah.
it was very good.
Everybody was dropping keys into hats, and we just don't ask questions anymore.
Yeah.
I met a lot of lifelong friends through Google Plus because you'd find some souls that you got along with. Like, hey, this is. I'm pretty sure I may have talked to Tenkar the first time on Google Plus.
May have been, yeah,
because I know I was reading his blog, and so. But no, that was we flail snails. Those don't know that was a rule system for playing online where you could go from one campaign to another and you had like you were flail snail, approved or whatever. And
right, but like the rule set didn't matter if you were created with BX rules. You could play with an AD&D characters in the group. It just kind of adjusted you on the fly. I know Joe the lawyer was a big Flail Snails player back in the day.
Yeah, that's right. He was. I remember that.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember that. I was like I said, that was a deep cut because that was right when players do online and you would use Skype and you'd use a whiteboard. That's how long ago that was. There wasn't none of this fancy shit we got now. It was whiteboard drawing out, and everybody was on Skype, no pictures.
Yeah. Or even like sending people little graph paper maps in the chat or whatever as attachments. I used to do that sometimes.
Google Hangouts for my group. We didn't use Skype. We used Google.
Oh my God, we sound like the saddest old men possible.
Back in my day, we used Google Hangouts. Roll20, when it was young, actually integrated into it. Yeah.
In my day, we didn't have integration.
We had two 10-sided die and one
we sent it to each other.
Yeah.
One 10-sided die was black and one was red. You had to say what was high and what was low.
My D20 was numbered 1 to 0 twice.
Oh my God, this is the saddest conversation we've ever had on this show.
It was so bad.
Green is high. I mean orange. I mean green. I mean orange.
That was my brother. He would try to convince you every session that wait, last time blue was high. No. It's always been black. You liar. You are lying to me right now because exactly. Oh man, those are the good old days. Yes.
Oh, I speak you, Fogly. Damn.
Right.
Bringing back memories.
Well, yeah.
I'm just
my lumbago. Oh, it's acting up again. I bet.
All right, we don't have to stay in the old man persona if we don't.
No, we don't. We can pretend to be young again.
God.
Come on.
Would you guys like your Doan's pills? I feel like you should take your Doan's pills.
So Ignatius. So there was you got up to issue, I believe, 14.
Yes.
There was a long layoff. So explain what was the. I mean, we're talking a long layoff. This was.
Yes. Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And at the time it started, I didn't know if I was ever going to come back. Well, so basically, a lot of stuff, both good and bad, happened in my personal life all at once. The official story, which you can read in Fight on 15, is that I went on a Virgin Galactic tour and went too close to a black hole, and so I was trapped in an event horizon. And so that's also why maybe I look a little younger, is because I didn't really age, but that's a story. What actually happened is that I went through some personal turmoil, but also there were some positive things that happened, and it was just kind of too much. I had some things going on at my work. I had some things going on in my private life, and it was just like I couldn't do it. And that kind of sorted itself out. But for a long time, I would occasionally go to cons. I read some stuff. I kept up, with things that were going on. Tried a few new games here and there, but I wasn't really in the scene much. And then I guess a few years ago, a few things happened. I ran into some people from the old days and played with them and had a blast. I know he's a controversial person with some people, but I went to Hungary on a trip with my wife, and I ran into Gabor Lux.
Oh wow!
And
we like Gabor. We like him.
He ran a game. He's whatever you think of his views or whatever, he's an absolutely A1.
He's highly skilled and very creative.
And he's a wonderful host. At least to me, he was great in Hungary. And I really like the guy. I guess now maybe I'll have to be canceled for saying that, but I mean, I like other people.
We're all canceled on this show, so don't feel too
We've all been
Dude, the
canceled.
list
Yeah.
is way too long, and you don't even make it if you're on this show. Don't worry.
Yeah. You get an official. Here's your cancellation card. Play it when you want.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
okay, well, whatever. It's hopeless. You can't even talk about this stuff. I mean, I
No.
like people with lots of different views. I'm not, but whatever. I like Gabor. He's a good guy. He was a wonderful host. I ran some games for him. He ran some games for me. They were all fun. And so that was one thing I like. And also I mentioned I tried out Dungeon Crawl Classics briefly. Some cool things about that game. It's not really D&D to me, but there are things I like about it. And Jeff was in that game. So all of a sudden I started running into some of the old fight on people in real life again. And then the other thing that happened is it turned out a lot of younger gamers in Europe were like really into the old school thing. And when I kind of encountered them, they were like, "Oh, are you going to bring Fight On back? We want to do stuff." I also met the guys on another podcast, the Classic Adventure Gaming podcast. They were kind of into what I was doing. And so I was like, there's still, and then the other thing, I raised my daughter playing Swords and Wizardry. Nice. And that is the game that she liked. But when she got to school, all the other kids were playing 5e. So she felt like she had to play 5e in order to fit in. She plays both now, which is, okay. I realized that even though like the OSR is a thing now and you can buy, lots of people are making the stuff, there was still kind of something for Fight On to do and be in the current gaming environment. And but yeah, so I mean, so a lot of the old guys are still writing, but some of these younger Europeans, Atronarch is one, Prince of Nothing, who has an absolute banger dinosaur AD&D adventure. I mean, it's great. I love it. Prince's Adventure, but also this guy Elder Thing. He's been writing actually a series of connected dungeons that are in issues 15, 16, and 17. These are all guys, I think they're half my age. They're European. They love old school D&D. And so they're kind of the new guard that's supplementing what's left of the old guard. And then
so let me just talk to something real quick, because I think I think I worked for Games Workshop in one way, shape, or form or another for the better part of a decade. Mm-hmm. And when I walked away, mm-hmm. I would say that I went really cold turkey. And I just sort of set it all aside, right? And mm-hmm. and I went through a few years of nothing, simply because I had been so deep for so long and really, really, I was at the bottom of the pool and the deepest end of the pool. And I needed some time to recharge my hobby mojo. I needed some time to come back to it. And I think it's perfectly healthy to say, I need a break, right? Of the three regulars here, I'm the guy that's the deepest into the DCC pool. And I had to walk away from DCC for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I found my love for it again. And I think it's a natural thing to say, I've set both ends of the candle on fire. And just because that wasn't enough, I set the middle on fire. And now I can't understand why I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. And we lose sight of that as hobbyists. We lose sight of that. And I think it's perfectly normal to say, you know what? I worked with guys at Games Workshop that I made the decision to walk away. I had loved working there. And then I had a boss who was less than ideal and created a situation that was less than ideal. And I reached out to my old boss and I said, hey, here's the deal. I'm walking away. Mm-hmm. December 31st, 1999 is my last day with Games Workshop. And he's like, wait, what can we do? And I said, well, really and truly, there's nothing Games Workshop should do. I need to take the break and I need to walk away from a while. And I want to find my hobby again. I want to find what I loved about
Yeah.
the hobby
Right.
without living the hobby 24/7.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I would say when I listen to you talk about this stuff, this is perfectly normal, perfectly healthy. Don't
Yeah.
ever beat yourself up on this, right? How old?
Yeah.
I don't want to pry, but whatever age your daughter is now, like when you show her the early issues of Fight On and you tell her the stories and you talk
Mhm.
about, let me explain who Earl Otis is and why it's a big deal and how this cover like was just
Yeah.
when you tell her all these stories, this is like when I talk to my son about
Mhm.
Games Workshop and Games Day and going
Yeah.
out for beers with Jez Goodwin and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. Like this stuff resonates in a different way, but I had to have that time away to really appreciate it the way that I do now. And
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in and say all of us need to take breaks from our hobbies, and it's
Uh-huh.
perfectly okay to take a break and then come back into it later, because if you don't, I there were a handful of guys that I worked with who stayed too close to the flame and ended up having to be let go. And
Mhm.
and those people are now bitter and twisted about the hobby in a way that really is unfortunate. And we know those
Yeah.
people. We all know those people, right? That they gamed too hard for too far it just went off the rails, and it's unfortunate.
They didn't recharge their sanity loss, and then they were eaten
Yes.
by the elder gods or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I
Yeah.
just I hear
My,
you say that, and I just don't
yeah.
want you to feel. I don't want you
Oh,
to feel like you're not a part of the same kind of situation we've all been through.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I don't really feel bad about it, except in the sense that it maybe would have been cool if there was more, right? But for me, it was the right decision at the time. I know it
Right.
was. I just but that's what happened. And it's both good and bad things. A lot of stuff, positive professional things. One part of it was a divorce, which was not good. That was very hard. But just different things. It was just all at once. It was like big trial, big opportunity, big personal revelations of certain kinds, and I just didn't have the bandwidth. And
Sure.
that's okay. That's okay. I will say my daughter, the back cover of Fight On 15, my daughter did, and she managed. I was not a judge, but she managed to get third place in the color division of our art contest. So that
Nice.
painting of hers will probably be on a back cover sometime eventually too. So
That's
that's
fabulous.
cool. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing that you came back. I mean, a lot of people have these projects and they do them and then they walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say 90% of the people never come back. I mean, they're done. It's
Yeah.
gone. And that was something I did. The fact that you came back and you came back strong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just one issue. Now we're up to issue 17 here.
Yeah.
Like, that says a lot, because I've had some projects I've dropped over the years and rarely do I come back. And
Yeah.
those products is dropped. It's a lot of times it's a campaign. We're running a campaign
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. Nobody can make it for 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, and then it's just gone, and then we can't get the mojo back, and we're
Yeah.
done. So the fact that you come back a decade later is pretty amazing.
Thank you.
You're against.
Thank you.
You're beating the odds, I think, is the phrase.
Appreciate
There's
it.
a lot of comments that
Yeah.
are understanding what it is to go through what you went through and
Yeah.
stepped away for, in the case of Dwayne Rogers, 15 years from doing art before coming
Yeah.
back to it. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
hey, I stepped away from the hobby itself for about
Yeah.
10, 11 years. So,
Yeah, and I like what you said, Jim, too, about recharging your creative batteries. That is one thing that happens. But there definitely I do have some personal projects, some games that are half designed modules. But I think one reason I came back to do Fight On is, I mean, for me, and you guys, there's just something so magical about being there at the beginning of this hobby. And even if people, like, I get it, people like different kinds of systems and stuff, but I really think there's something, and maybe it's a little corny, but I mean, something for everybody in this kind of like idea of making stuff, making it your own. Like, I just think that, and I think that the older games are often, maybe not always, but they're often better for that. sometimes because they're less structured or more open-ended, or just because there's this culture of creativity that's around them.
Yeah, they're more
And
hackable.
Absolutely.
and so I mean, stepping back into Fight On for me is partly like stepping back into that world, you know. And actually, one of the guys who contributed to this issue, he said something really nice to me when the issue came out. He said, "Hey, it looks great," and he said, "Thanks for keeping the dream alive." And now, obviously, I'm not doing that myself, right? We're all doing that. Matt Finch is doing it. All the guys we've talked about are doing it, But it is kind of a dream, It's like kind of this thing that Gary and Dave started and just kind of kept going, and it doesn't have to die. If people keep doing it, it'll live. And if so I mean, this is my little attempt to keep a little piece of it going in a way.
I think what I would throw out to you is that we could not have predicted D&D 5th edition 25 years ago.
No,
that's true.
And we can't predict what D&D 7th edition or 8th edition is going to look like in 25 years. We just can't predict that. And our hobby has been through it started rooted in miniatures and war game rules and morphed, and then it became role playing, and then it became not just kill monsters, get treasure. It went from Monty Hall dungeons that were all just random encounters. It has evolved and evolved. We got too deep into what are the motivations of the monsters, and orcs should wear Mexican hats and sombreros, and I'm not sure why, but we did. We veered off in that direction. And
would you like a coffee? Would you like the latte or the espresso?
I can't tell you how often I read of the old European sagas where the dwarves were baking all the time. So whatever reason we have all this, my point is that you can't predict how it's going to evolve, right? The things that are popular within our sphere, our hobby, none of us knew where they were 5 years ago, and we don't know what's coming 5 years from now. What we can only do is we can try to foster the things we love. We can try to support the things we love.
Yeah.
And we can do our best to pass on the best qualities of what we loved versus the worst qualities of the things we loved. And we can all think back to first edition, Holmes box set, second edition, et cetera, BECMI, all the stuff that there were things that we didn't like, that we didn't carry forward, or we made our own rules and we moved past all of that, or character generation. Like I had a conversation with somebody about character generation and how many dice do you roll when you go for your stats? And 6 people could be at the table and no 6 answers are the same because everybody had their own homebrew. And what I always enjoyed is the final answer is your characters are heroic. They are better than most people. And if their stats reflect that, that's the root of who they are. Because out of a crowd, these are the ones that when everybody else ran from danger, they ran toward you.
It's nice.
I
like that kind of setup too.
So.
Oh, hey!
Wow. So Ignatius, it's been almost an hour and a half. What else is there that we should talk?
I want to fanboy a couple other things.
Okay, thank you.
So Ignatius, there was a mega dungeon in the early days of Fight On. I don't remember if it was ever finished. I know there was several sections of it written by people. I love this thing. I thought it was a round robin mega dungeon.
Yes,
it was freaking awesome.
Thank you.
So where did the idea for that come from? Was that you or one of the people that wrote it? Or, I mean, how did that come about?
Okay. So first of all, you're talking about The Darkness Beneath. Every issue from 2 through 16 has something for it. So the only issues that don't have something for it are issue 1 and this current issue. I'll explain why the current issue doesn't in a minute. So what happened is, we were all excited because Fight On #1, a lot of people outside the circle bought it. It got some traction. And so like, wow, this is cool. So what do we need? Like, if we're going to be like a bigger old school fanzine, And then I don't even know who said it. Maybe it was me. Might have been somebody else. Like, we need a community mega dungeon, right? That was when, yeah, there it is. The Darkness Beneath, right?
This is level 10. So
level 10, yeah. So we said, okay, let's do a community mega dungeon. So I did the 15 level map. Rob Conley did it nice, but the original one I did, just on a piece of graph paper or whatever. I said, okay, these are the levels and their names, and anybody who wants to grab a level, right? And
oh, very cool. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it kind of gets even cooler because I got a submission for level 1, which came from some guy in Europe who he goes by Hackman in the magazine. I never knew who he was. He didn't follow up, but he gave me this thing that's like about 10 rooms. And I said, hey, this has got some really cool ideas. In particular, I like the little like gang of evil halflings led by the leprechaun. I thought that was I think that was Hackman's idea. It's hard to say for sure after all this time. But so I wrote another 10 rooms and expanded it. And then Dave Bowman, who wrote a lot of the best levels of that, he showed up and he took the thing I did with Hackman's thing and then moved it out into like a 30-room dungeon. And so that was level 1 was this collaboration between the three of us. And then level 2, I wrote, Dave wrote levels 3 and 5. James Malashevsky wrote level 4. And so just different people picked up different levels. And and so all of the levels except the bottom level have been published now. And the reason that there isn't one in the current issue is because we're working on trying to finish it off in style.
Nice.
There's several ingredients here. One is creating the kind of monsters and stuff. Another one is my friend Del Beaudry, who wrote some articles that have been in there. He's an excellent dungeon master, and he had this adventure that he wrote when we were kids that was kind of an inspiration for the bottom level. I'm back in touch with him. I don't know if the bottom level is going to be a development of that dungeon or something I write or some Frankenstein, but we're doing all this stuff. Basically, we're working on it. We're coming up with monsters. Actually, Grodog, Alan Grohe, you guys know him.
Oh, Greyhawk Jesus. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's writing some monsters to kind of, so but it takes time to develop a good high level dungeon, and so we weren't able to do it in time for 17. But I'm hoping we're going to have at least the first half of it for issue 18. And once that's all out, I'm actually going to work to maybe create it as a product.
Nice.
I've got some ideas about how to do that. I've also got some framing material because, it's a portable mega dungeon. You just need to put it kind of near a city in a Badlands in your world and you're set. But I do have some information about some of the interconnections between the levels and how they connect to the city, whether it's my city of Marchand or some city in your campaign. And a lot of that stuff you can tease out of the published material, but I think it would be nice for DMs who are just coming to it to have kind of that big picture of the adventure along with it. So, it may take a few years to really get this done, but there is a plan first to finish that last level in the zine, and then to hopefully do a kind of standalone version of it at some point, maybe with some supporting new material there too.
Well, I thought the best part I thought about it was I've on 2 occasions pulled a level out and just used it because they all.
Yes,
I think one was Dave Bowman's level with a bunch of troglodytes or something.
Oh yeah, I did the trog.
By the way,
Dave did the Crabman. And Dave's Crabman,
that was it. Yeah,
that's a fantastic dungeon. I've run that at least 3 cons. And as a con game, you just have to pick. You either have them focused on the Crabmen or on the weird alien intelligence. I won't do too many spoilers, But if you give them one or the other as their mission,
It's a great level.
yeah,
It's a great,
and it'll
great
happen
level.
in a 4-hour session. And the hill giant never fails to crack people up. I won't give any more details on that, but
Well, that's so I love that. I just love that aspect that you didn't need all the levels. Matter of fact, I don't even know how you'd run it with all the levels. To be honest with you, it'd be a tough one, but it works great.
Well, people run Arden Fool. I mean, Darkness Beneath is small by comparison.
Yeah, true.
But anyway.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then, so what did you think? Another thing is, so eventually there was a magazine or a fanzine came out called Knockspell.
Yes.
And that was Matt Finch's Swords and Wizardry, Align magazine. What did you think when that came out? Did you think imitation is the greatest form of flattery?
Well,
or just, that's cool. Oh, I can't have any more Swords and Wizardry stuff in my magazine anymore.
No. Well, first of all, I like Swords and Wizardry, and I like Matt. So it was a friendly rivalry, but emphasis on the friendly. A lot of people wrote for both also, so it wasn't like we were like, you've got to write for one or the other. I will say, I guess, to toot my own horn a little bit, because Matt's somebody who I have tremendous respect for, and he's been fantastically successful as a kind of independent publisher. I will say that Lulu.com, which we were both early adopters of, had a writing contest, like who sells the most books, and there was actually a pretty hefty prize. And for the first contest, Knockspell won 3rd place. Some self-published romance novel that looked pretty good won 2nd place, and Fight On won 1st place. So we won.
Ooh.
We won
Nice.
the very first Lulu author contest, so that was pretty awesome. So I mean,
man, I got to look up this romance novel to see how much
turned out into an adventure. Damn it,
blew Knoxville away, so I got to see how good it is.
Yeah. But I mean, it was interesting. I think Lulu stopped doing the contests partly because the RPG publishers kept winning them. But
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
But in any case, I have, basically really good things to say about Lulu. I wish there was a website that had drive-throughs PDF support and Lulu's print support, because that would be like a perfect self-publishing website. But we don't, so I use them both. Yeah,
Lulu that's a blast for the past too, because there was like the old days, you get on Lulu and you just throw in key, because people would put up stuff and there wasn't really any category for things, and you just have to like start throwing keywords in there, and you come across a dungeon. Yeah. Like, oh, I've never even heard of this. And you get it printed up and send it to you. And it's pretty good. This is really good. So I love, just that whole discovery thing about Lulu back in the day, where you just, would put in like D&D, Dungeons, Dragons, OSR. We put all these keywords in just see what pop up. And sometimes something would be really badly mislabeled.
You can still do it. Stonehell's still on there. Anthony Huso puts all his stuff on there. He's a guy who came out.
Wow.
Yeah, he does good work, in my opinion. And you could find, some of Jeffrey's stuff on there. Matt Finch, some of his older stuff is still on there. Michael Curtis has his stuff, So a lot of the older OSR names who are either doing their own thing now or they're out of it now, their works are still technically there. You can find them,
Lulu used to coupon codes, and everybody used to get all excited about those coupon codes.
Oh yes, oh yeah, that was a big
little trick.
Sound like little old ladies with your food stamp.
You got it.
I mean, if you order off Lulu, there's basically some kind of coupon code almost every week. So, if getting 10 or 15% is basically just, do you want to spend the energy to do an internet search? You can find it usually.
Yeah. Yes, you are not incorrect on that.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I think this has been fascinating. I love. How long was your break between issues? How long? Like 4 years, 5 years?
So 14 came out in 2013, and I guess 15 came out in 2024. So that's like a 10-year break. Yeah. It was a 10-year break. And yeah, things are very good in my life right now, and I kind of wanted to come back to this because it's something I love, something I care about.
Well,
So
that's the best kind, right? That's
yeah,
the thing that
right.
matters the most.
So somebody asked, are there any in-print form OSR magazines that are in the spirit of Dragon? I know of one. It's called Fight On. And we're talking. And by the way, just to let you guys know, I've gotten the drive-through takes so long; it's unpredictable when they do your cover. But the print version will be available on drive-through as soon as the proof copy shows up at my house. It's in the mail, so I think maybe just order it off Lulu. But if for some reason you really like to order from drive-through, which I know a lot of gamers feel comfortable doing for whatever reason, it will be in print there very shortly too.
I thought that was the most awesome plug I think we've ever heard on this show. That was spectacularly well done. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Put the link back up in case somebody missed it and doesn't.
That's right.
In case you can't type it in from what you see on the screen, making sure, trying to simplify things for you.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
I noticed.
So
yeah, go
so
ahead.
how do you feel? So you've got the DIY aspect of gaming now, because you have so many fanzines out there, and you even had Zine Quest on Kickstarter, which is crazy.
Yeah,
they actually got sucked into that. How did you feel about that? Seeing that stuff. Here we are, 2023, 24, 25, and you've got that sensibility, that DIY sensibility that's still from the early days of the OSR, which I think is awesome.
Soft cover foolery, but
yeah,
for them.
Yeah, there you go. I feel great about it, just like even in the early days with Matt and Knoxspell. I think it's a great thing to do. I do feel like when I'm being introspective or whatever, there's a little bit of like, okay, I know why we needed Fight On in 2008. Why do we need Fight On in 2025? Right.
I guess that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's kind of a crowded market now. It's quite crowded. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that part of the answer I can just say is quality. We have good adventures. We have good articles, good, it's good. Now there are other ones that are good too, but so that's at least some kind of qualifier. I do think that there's a little bit of a continuity thing, and I think that's actually what some of the younger European contributors I was mentioning really like, is that we've had Tim Kaskin Fight On, we've had Frank Menzer and Errol Otis judging contests, we've had Mike Mornard writing articles. I had the interview I did with Dave Arneson. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great interview, but it was one of the last ones he ever did before he died. So there's a kind of like Fight On is maybe this kind of bridge. It's not fully of the old days because it was like the attempt to sort of resurrect them, but it's a kind of bridge in some ways, I think, between the early days of gaming and people who are there and people who want to keep that style of gaming alive now. So I don't know, like pedigree sounds pompous and it's not really what I'm looking for anyway. It's just that bridge. I guess that bridge idea is what I like. It's like, this is a living community, and sure, a lot of us may be on our way to dentures or whatever, but we're not dead. These games aren't dead. Young people are still finding.
It was great having you on, Ignatius. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Wonderful. All right.
That was just hateful. I just, I liked him up till then.
I was talking about myself.
Okay. Sure you were. Sure
he wasn't general. Well, he was general. It's okay.
It's all right.
We forgive you.
I got a tooth implant I need to pay for here.
Somebody, Chris asked how much of the Fight On books. Chris, for what you get, it is immensely affordable.
Yeah, they range from like $8.99 to $9.99 for the single issues, like 30.
Oh,
just grab a random issue. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're not sure what you're getting into, just
Mhm.
grab like number 8, number 5. I mean, just grab a random issue, and you're gonna get hooked, and you're
Yeah.
gonna say, $10? Hell yeah!
Yep.
I got $10. I mean, it reminds me, and I said this earlier in the chat. You know, the old Dragon magazines. We're talking pre-100. You get it and you devour it from start to finish because everything in there was useful. You know,
Yeah.
and every part of it you could use. Sometimes there was a mini adventure in there. There'd be Len Lecoq always had his Leomund's Hut with
Yeah.
new rules stuff. I mean, just there was always stuff in there you could use. It became less, the more it got, homogenized, less and less was useful. But back then, I believe Dragon Magazine was $3, $2.50. I mean,
$3 was
for
cover
that-
price for the longest time. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you couldn't go wrong because
Yeah.
you got that thing and you were pulling stuff out to use in your campaign. You were, you were getting the book
Right.
reviews were even great. You were getting every part of you were eating every part of the
Yeah.
buffalo. Everything in there was great. And that's
I do
how
wanna-
if you get fight on's the same thing. Every part of the buffalo is useful in there.
So one of your Chris Lundgren, I guess his name was, he said he found the Fight On website. I do want to kind of give your listeners a warning. We have an old website which is somewhat degraded, which is fightonmagazine.com. That website is in the possession of cyber squatters. I have no control over it. But the new one is just fightonzine.com. So it's just fightonzine.com. And that's up to date.
Yeah.
It's got the current issues. It's got everything on it, linked and so forth. So and I've got that on all my socials. So if people click on me, whatever, they can
I
find
got
it.
it.
But yeah.
That's my
Nice.
job during these
That's
streams.
good to know. Yeah, that's great
Yeah.
to know.
But just that's our real website. The old one I'm going to try to time to grab the renewal when it comes up before they do, but in the meantime it's just I have no control over it.
They're selling vacuum cleaners on
No,
it
I
or
mean they've still
something,
got like a degraded version of our old website,
okay.
and some of the links even go to Lulu, but it's very aggravating because I get emails from people like, hey, how can I get issues after issue 14 or 13 or whatever's on there, and I'm like, well, go to our current website and you'll see it all on there. But
dude, your website sucks. I was there. It sucks.
Little
Yeah.
early 2000s animations and pop-ups. Yeah, no, it doesn't have that stuff, but
You haven't updated it in 15 years, man. What's wrong with you? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you have other questions or other things you'd like to find out about or talk about. Any contributors you're interested in? I'm happy to. I mean, I could talk forever.
Well, you need to come to North Texas.
I'm coming to North Texas.
RPG
I'm running games. I'm running at least 2 games there. I might be running a third.
Because I will beat you down, and you will get beaten down by fans. We're going to have a whiskey one night and have you there for 3 hours, and just absolutely beating you down.
I'll be happy to do it.
The annual whiskey tasting. It is a tradition now.
All right. Oh, geez.
Yes.
Thursday night, I'm actually running a 20-person game at the social hour for the K&K people.
Oh,
other nights maybe I'm free. I don't know. Anyway, but I'm excited to do that. I haven't run a game that big for a very, very long time.
Seminar. We should have a fanzine seminar or panel. I'll have to think about this.
I mean, I'm sure you've got some other fanzine creators who come to the con, but yeah, I mean, if you put together a panel like that, I'll be happy to be on it.
I'll think about it. I'll look at who we got rolling here and think about who we can get there, and because I think that would be very cool. By the way, just apropos of nothing, Jim, I wanted to let you know that I talked to somebody this week, and they said that our frequent talks about you can't take it with you have inspired them, and they're selling their collection. And they said, I want to thank you and Jim for letting me know that you're right. You can't take it with you. I need to sell it now, get the money, do fun stuff with it, give it. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So
I mean, let's sort of segue into a couple of other things. Ignatius, that's not to sort of cut you off, but we've got like
that's fine. I'll just hang out with you
minutes
guys.
left. I do want to hit
Yeah,
things.
no, sure.
Number one, I think this is the year that Mike and I are going to start at conventions that we're at. We're going to start doing a seminar about collecting, and collectibles. And this isn't me telling everybody you need to dump everything ASAP. That's not the point. Although
we don't have any inside info. We're not telling
you're a Funko collector. Let me give you a heads up. Target on Sunday began blowing all the Funko items out at 30% off. Every Target store across the country. If you needed a sign the Funko apocalypse is here, that's it.
But wait, there's more. I wouldn't buy your Funkos now because I think that discount's going to get a little better. Jim,
so let me talk to a couple of things. I mentioned this on Facebook this week, but a very influential science fiction author for me was John Varley. John Varley has passed away. He was somebody who wrote short fiction for some of the like analog amazing science fiction and fantasy. He had success with his Titan Wizard Demon trilogy, Persistence of Vision. Mike and I both remember he wrote a short story called Press Enter, like press the enter key. And it has some grisly, horrific moments in it that will leave you unsettled. And no matter how much you try, you cannot forget a couple of things that are in that short story.
I still remember, and I had forgotten, Jim. I looked it up. It won that year. Won the Hugo, Nebula, and World Fantasy Awards for short.
He trifected.
And this guy won.
He trifected several times. He'd won the Hugo, the Nebula, and the other. And so, if you're looking for somebody from the 70s to read, or if you want to get into a little bit of Appendix N or Appendix whatever, go look up John Varley. Go look up some of his backlist. Go shop around for his story collections. I made a post on Facebook, and actually I found the episode online of Welcome to Paradox, where one of his short stories, Blue Champagne, was adapted. Now there's another one that I didn't bother to link, but all of this stuff is eminently readable and so on and so forth. So I highly recommend.
And he was very prescient. If you read his book, we're talking like the early 80s, mid 80s. You would be shocked at some of the stuff he threw out there that is not. I mean, it's now we're doing this now stuff, and that's what I think is a mark of a great science fiction writer. Somebody that can throw some. I mean, Philip K. Dick did that all the time. That's why Philip K. Dick's stuff is so popular, and his stuff gets made in movies because he came out with stuff in the 60s and 70s that now is true. We have this stuff, and that's the mark of a great mind. John Varley had that mind because a lot of the stuff he presented is absolutely happened. I mean, it's become reality since he did it. Press Enter is a lot of it's about AI, and it's really pretty creepy.
Yeah, so it's in the chat, but let me speak to this next, which is we all found out about Gil Gerard last night, and as much as we mock ruthlessly the terrible second season of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, I have nothing but fond memories of the first season, and the weight of that show was truly borne on his shoulders. You know, nothing wrong with Princess Ardala or Dale Arden, but he was the reason people tuned in every week, and it got renewed. He had a great sense of humor. I've read nothing but just wonderful tributes about this guy, left, right, and center. I think that the final note that he wrote, that he had his wife send out through all their social media connections after he passed, it just goes to show, like, here's a guy who had an understanding, and it was good. It was very, very solid. I'm gonna be sad, right? Because he's one of those guys. Now, that said, whatever you do, dear Lord, do not go out on the internet and look up. There's actually lyrics to the Buck Rogers theme song. And under no circumstances should you ever listen to those lyrics. The song is horrific. The guy singing it. In fact, when they released the pilot as a theatrical movie, it's over the credits. And if you have that, or you get that, whatever you do, make sure you turn the volume off if you're watching the movie version of the pilot. It's you will take that to your grave, and just it's an earworm of horrific proportions.
I noticed, guys, we were talking about.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about Wizard Con earlier, and I noticed that the Wizard Tower Games guy is in the thread.
Don's in it. Yep.
Yeah. Just thought I'd give him a shout out.
I think several of us are going to be at Wizard Con this year. I'm going to be there with the auction. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. I think a lot of Don's efforts, although I think Don got sucked into trying to build the perfect website, and we need to pull Don back from the brink, the abyss. I think that we're into the final week before Christmas. I think our lists last week I think we tried to do them in good fun. I haven't had any feedback. Well, I should say I haven't had any hate mail, which is always a pleasant surprise. Look, Don got out of the abyss. Don's not in the HTML abyss right now. Hey, Don, it's good to see you. So we're in the final week. I know that family's coming in. Like literally tonight, my kid gets in from college, so it'll be interesting to have him eating all the frozen pizzas in the house. Look, Don thinks it's up right now. That's great. Good for you, Don. I would say this, right? This is the time of year where you can't rely on Amazon. I have 2 packages that have been lost with gifts in them, and thanks a lot, Jeff Bezos. But what I would say is that you have plenty of time to still go into your friendly local game store, and you have a chance to drop 100 or 2 and get stuff for people. And I would encourage you to do that over the course of the next week. Now, are we doing something on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week?
We're going to be Tuesday because I won't be home until 9 Wednesday.
So we're going to pick this all up next Tuesday. Mike, you're back home. You got some music for us, buddy?
I got some music, but first of all, I'd like to throw something out. I had another grandson
born
Monday. A couple weeks early, so he's a Christmas baby. His name's Liam. I have no answer for why a Mexican couple named their child a traditional Irish name. But Liam's a good name. And he's going to have to explain that to his Mexican friends when he gets older, why his name's Liam. But no, I do. I'm back. I've got music.
Man,
baby.
I have something cinematic related that I'm waiting to hit. So go ahead, buddy.
Hit Parade by The Wedding Present. The Wedding Present, great band out of England. They did so to break a record in Britain. They decided they wanted to have a #1 record more than the Beatles did, which means they had to go 24 months and have one record. And they did it with something called Hit Parade. Every month they released a single. It's a remake of an old song. So there's a Hit Parade, I think 1, 2, and 3. This is 1. It's got some just kind of obscure stuff. It's got some Bowie, Beatles, but anyway, they're a great band, hard rock band. They do some great covers of songs. That's Hit Parade 1. Eyeliners is I had this before I left. I kept it. I don't like the term girl band. It's a woman band. And they're from Texas and hard rocking, great stuff. I've had it on the turntable for a few weeks now. This is a group called Spent, and this album's called A Seat Beneath the Chairs. I don't know much about it, but it's pretty good. It's just kind of like experimental rock, but it's got a guitar and it's music. And I don't know much about them. I'll try to, if I keep this on the turntable, I'll find out more about the group called Spent
I think you said
for next
Spit.
time and tell you something. So one of my favorite bands, high school, college, growing up, the Long Riders. The Long Riders, they were a band that loved the Byrds, the old 60s, 70s.
For a woman in a black dress.
And they did a lot of their stuff was very. I saw them in concert twice. Great band. They did a bunch of hard rock country type music, and their stuff's out. And the lead singer of the band actually wrote a biography of the lead singer of the Byrds. That's how much he loved the Byrds. And so they're just a really good 60s, 70s influenced country rock band. But this stuff, it came out, I think, 80s. It was early 80s. This is what I'm ending with. This is great. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. The Who live at Leeds, but this is the deluxe edition. It is the entire
Oh.
concert. If you've ever the Who Live at Leeds, you probably had the album when you were a kid. It's got like 8 songs on it. No. This is back when the Who were at the apex of their power. The early February 14th, Leeds University, 1970. Here's what their set was. They played the entire album Tommy.
Okay.
All 20 songs. Then they took a brief intermission and came back and did another 20 songs, their greatest hits. That's what bands used to do, folks, when they were really rock and roll bands. Nowadays,
all right.
I want
to pose the great musical theory.
Crazy.
I have the great musical theory, which is nobody makes good music after the age of 35.
Look, I'll take you one more than that. I've got an argument with my friends, Jim. I think that bands should break up if they've been together over 10 years.
I'm okay with that.
I think that you've done it all. That there's very little left. If you look at rock bands, very few have their best album after 20. I'm sorry, I meant 20 years. The Rolling Stones haven't had a good album since 1981. I mean, you're after 20 years.
I would argue 74, but sure, we can do that.
But yeah, the Who Live at Leeds, the full concert, amazing. And I mean, just Keith Moon's on, Roger Daltrey's on, Ant Whistle's going. I mean, Pete Townsend. Everybody's at the height of their rock and roll power. I got this a few years ago, and every once in a while I come across it again, and I'll listen to it for weeks. It is so, and I'm not a really big Tommy fan. I think Tommy's okay, but hearing it live, it's just freaking amazing. And then just to know they did the whole Tommy, I'm like, okay. And we're going to come out, by the way, we're going to do another 20 songs because we want you to get your money's worth. I mean, you paid $5 for this ticket. We definitely want you to get your money's worth or whatever it was. I mean, it's just crazy. So yeah, that's one of my favorite albums of all time. Who Live at Leeds deluxe edition, not the regular edition. This is deluxe edition. This has every song that they played.
All right.
So,
okay, so
movie-wise?
I am one of the madmen that is participating in what may be either the weirdest Yuletide tradition ever or the greatest feat of counter programming for the Hallmark Channel. What, pray tell, could this be? Well, the Criterion Collection brought this box set out a few years ago, and it is all 25 of the Zatoichi movies in one wonderful box set. So, yes, there's one movie that got made much later, but these are the first 25 Zatoichi movies. And some of us have embarked on a bizarre tour of doing all 25 movies for the month of December. So it's the 17th of December.
Some of us?
We're up to movie 17, which 17 is, Zatoichi Challenge. Now, I know that some of you did not wake up this morning thinking to yourself, I wonder if there's a box set that collects the traveling adventures of a blind masseuse who, wait for it, is also one of the greatest swordsmen in Japan. How could it possibly get better than that? I'm telling you, this was the greatest buy. Now, here's the deal. There's usually a 50% off Criterion sale every 6 months. So we just had one in November with Barnes & Noble. There was one with Criterion themselves. There'll be another one in the spring, et cetera, et cetera. But I and a few other brave, hardy souls who have this wonderful box set, we have embraced watching every one of the movies. We're watching them up in order. I'm even going to watch number 25 on Christmas, and it's been just great. Now, the movie 17 today, for example, the guy who directed it directed 4 of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, and then he directed the star of Zatoichi in the Hanzo the Razor movies, which we can't discuss on this show or we will be banned. So
somebody wants to know how you spell the series.
Zatoichi. Now, here's the deal. The main character's name is Ichi, but Zato is a Japanese prefix that essentially he is lower caste, he is Yakuza, he is unclean. I can't wait because last night's episode featured Zatoichi coming up against a swordless Ronin who was imposing his moral values on the people of the village, including no drinking, no gambling, and no whoring. And needless to say, the
What
village
the
was a
hell?
little upset with all of this.
I hope that Zochi beat the shit
Zatoichi,
out
yes.
of him after that.
So the best part is Criterion also, when they made this wonderful box set, they also hired people to do amazing illustrations for each film. And they range from just epic scenic beauty to, hold on one second, there's a hysterically funny one where Zatoichi catches up with the guy who's been impersonating him. He wanders into a village and they're like, oh, the blind swordsman is here. His name is Zatoichi and he's amazing. And he's been doing all these favors and we're so lucky to have him here. And Zatoichi is like, really? Would anybody like to introduce me? Yes. So I can't recommend this set highly enough. The movies are dated, yes. They start in black and white. The first couple are black and white. They start in the early 60s. They run through the early 70s. They get to a point where there's a little bit of grindhouse, right? One of the other guys noticed that like the arms being cut off has gone up dramatically as we get closer and closer towards the back half of all these movies. But they are a really interesting slice of the sets are great. Some of them are okay, but some of them, the cinematography is spectacular. There's ones where he wanders off in the sunset. There's ones where he wanders off with the sun's coming up. There's whole villages that look like they came from the 1600s. That not that much has changed. And yes, they're probably sets, but they do take the cameras out. They do shoot some scenes of Japan. I can't say enough good things about this. However, it's a little more spendy than some people might want to drop. That's why I mentioned that Criterion does a number of 50% off sales.
Yeah, but 25. But there's 25
It's 25
movies.
flipping movies. Like, quit your bitching.
Come on.
$3-4 a movie. I don't want to hear it. But if you're cheap, do like I did, buy it on sale. But I have to say, what started as a lark, right? Because the problem is that like collectors are like, I have my Zatoichi box set. It's wonderful. It's in the shrink. You bastards, watch it. And so where I had to endure some conversation about people in November who are like, oh, I've got this, because I know you're surprised to hear all the Gen Z people are like, what do you think of my collection? I bought 12 movies and they're still in the shrink. And it's like, just watch the damn movies. So this was really an effort to get people to actually open the box sets and watch the movies. And where it's been a little bit of toil, right? Like I have to, there is a great Blu-ray set for the Godzilla movies. It's also from Criterion, enough said. But where it started off and it became a little bit of toil, I now am ending the day with the dog on the couch next to me watching the movie. And I have to say, yes, there's some cliches, right? He's blind, but he can tell how the dice landed. So he's been cheating people blind left, right, and center.
Daredevil. Holy crap.
There's a movie. There's a wonderful movie where he runs into a swordsmith who takes a look at his blade and is like, it has a crack and it will kill one more person and then it will shatter. And there's a wonderful analogy where the swordsmith, this master swordsmith says, it's well used and it's worn and it's not got much life left in it. And you're going, are we still talking about the sword? Because I'm pretty sure we're talking about the swordsman, right? Are we talking about Ichi or are we talking about the cane sword? So I know I'm going on and on, but really and truly, if you want to treat, Criterion has been great about bringing out all this wonderful samurai stuff. Somebody mentioned Lady Deathbird. They're the people who've gotten a Blu-ray of Lady Deathbird. All of the Akira Kurosawa's stuff is in 4K now. Criterion has been one of the foremost promoters of his stuff for 30 years. Jimbo Sanjiro, the Samurai trilogy, the Lone Wolf and Cub box set. Oh my God, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Mandalorian.
Yes. So this is, if you were gonna like it's like $150, $175. I don't know, but if you were gonna go out and treat yourself, you could do a hell of a lot worse than this Zatoichi box set. Big fan. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like tonight, I'm going to settle in and watch number 17. And I know on Christmas Day at some point after all the family leave and it's finally settled down, the dog is going to hop on the couch next to me and we're going to watch 25. And I'll have watched one Zatoichi movie every day of December. And frankly, screw you, Hallmark. I've done much better.
Nah.
God bless. Talking about
awesome.
Christmas. OSR Christmas is going to be kicking off. We actually have an OSR Christmas at gmail.com for you to email. If you have gifts you want to put into the pie, let me know. But in the meantime, if you want in on the Emperor's Choice, a big Kickstarter thing in that, I don't know, acrylic display case, they're donating one. I'm telling them they're only shipping to the U.S. They don't always listen to me. But if you want to be in for it, we're going to leave that one gift open for probably 4 weeks. Email osrchristmas@gmail.com and just say Emperor's Choice.
All right, so I just sent Eric the link for the Zatoichi box set. Looking at it right now on Amazon, it is $118. It's 40% off.
You cannot beat that.
Oh
you
my
cannot
God.
beat that.
If you're gonna bitch about $118.72, I got nothing for you.
There you go.
Like really and truly, I'm telling you, you can't beat it. It's just wonderful. Although movie number 17 has a shitty, obnoxious kid in it. We'll warn you now. Every third or fifth movies. No, that's also on Amazon UK. You can go find it wherever.
Here you go. Here's the shortened link with
there you go.
Link.
There you go. And more than anything else, Ignatius, thank you so much for coming on. We have had just
great talking to you guys.
Absolutely.
We've been looking forward to this for weeks.
Appreciate the shout out. Fight On 17 is here.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It'd be great seeing you this summer, man. It's going to be awesome.
Well,
it's going to be in Texas.
North Texas
North
is,
Texas.
I mean, I went last year. It was I think it was the best con I've ever been to. I loved it.
I didn't get to talk to you last year. I saw you that I never get to
we said hi, but that was it. So I love North Texas. I plan to come back every year that my body and pocketbook will let me for the rest of my life.
Amen.
Nice. Thank you.
It's my home away from home.
Yeah. And I scored a ticket also to Cauldron. So I'm going to go to Germany. That's supposedly Europe's answer to North Texas. They've got it's actually all AD&D apparently.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm going to go check that out, and I'll be able to report not this year, but maybe next year at North Texas. I'll be able to let you know how that went. Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be great to see you again. It's thanks to Jim and Eric. I'm sorry I bailed on you last week. I feel bad about it.
You ruined your streak.
I'll do
your streak. Potato can. We're good.
Yeah, we're okay.
All right. I felt bad. I was so beat, man. I was beat, tired, sick. I mean, everything. I just needed 24 hours, and I was up and ready to roll. So I'm ready for Christmas, man. I'm ready for next week.
As Jim pointed out, we are next Tuesday, the 23rd. Okay, put that on your calendars. Scratch it on your arm, whatever you got to do. All right, write it on your arm. Don't scratch it. But what I'm saying,
I'm going to get some whiskey to drink.
Oh, you telling me? Wait! You're telling me I got to be?
Wait! Are you telling me that this is the Christmas show with the talking crit drinking game?
Maybe.
I always have this next to my desk.
Oh my God! Like every time somebody says Arduin, we'll have to take a drink.
Oh my God! You might have
a fireball because, frankly, that's more appropriate.
Wow, I'm not. I can put some cinnamon in this, but it's too good to turn into a fireball.
My God!
All right, folks, we will see you next Tuesday. Next live stream on this channel is tomorrow night with Don from Wizard Tower Games. Friday, I believe it's Glenn Hellstrom, and of course, Gamers Health on Saturday. I'm trying to keep it slow this week. Not too many live streams.
Wow, yeah, you got a lot going on.
Oh, last week was way many.
That's
way many.
Crazy.
Yes. All right, folks. Thank you. God bless.